You've owned this card. Maybe it came in a starter deck, maybe it was bulk you never looked at twice. Doesn't matter, if you collected Pokemon, a Cubone is passed through your hands. Look at almost all the Cubone cards. Head down, alone, crying, that little skull pulled low over its face. I grew up thinking that was just Cubone's thing, a sad little Pokemon with a bone, but it's more than just a design choice. It's a story. The card is showing you one specific line from the Pokédex, and once you know that line, you will never look at Cubone the same. Because the skull on Cubone's head, it's its mother's. That's just the first card. Because it turns out a huge number of cards sitting in your binder right now aren't just pictures of Pokemon. They're illustrations of data from the Pokédex. Tiny, dark little stories hidden in plain sight, and a majority of people don't stop to read them. If you stay till the end of this video, I'll show you one card that hides a number. A single number repeated over and over. Almost like the artists were trying to tell you a story. Now let's read some cards. We're going to start with Cubone because it's the one you already own. The Pokédex calls it the Lonely Pokemon. That's the actual category printed on all the cards. And the reason why is one of the oldest and saddest pieces of lore in the franchise. Cubone's mother is dead. The skull it wears isn't armor it found lying around. It's not a costume. It's the skull of its own mother worn over its face. And Cubone never takes it off. And the Pokédex supports this by saying no one has ever seen what Cubone's real face looks like. But it gets even worse. One of Cubone's Pokédex entries says that when the moon is full, Cubone sees its mother's face in it and it cries. It also says the stains on the skull were made by its own tears. So go back and look at the art now. That downcasted head, that's not a pose. That's grief. The illustrators weren't drawing a cute monster with a bone. They were drawing a kid at a funeral that never ends. And if a card can hide something that heavy inside of something that cute, what else have we been sleeving without reading? Here's one you never suspect because it's a balloon. Drifloon. A little purple balloon with a smiley cloud face and stringy legs. It shows up on cheerful, brightly colored cards, and it might be the single most disturbing thing in your binder, because the Pokédex does not shy away from what Drifloon does. It grabs children by the hands and tries to take them away. I'm not being dramatic for the video. The official entries just say it outright. One reads that any child who mistakes Drifloon for a real balloon and holds onto it could, and I quote, wind up missing. It tugs on the hands of children to steal them away. And the oldest folktale attached to it calls Drifloon the guide for wandering spirits, because the way it drifts is said to guide the souls of the dead. So the next time you see a happy little Drifloon card, understand what the artist actually drew. Not a party balloon, a lure, something that floats up to a kid with a smile on its face, hoping they'll reach out and grab the string they can't let go of. Cheerful, eye-catching, but behind it all, an absolutely terrible fate. Yamask, a little black ghost that drifts along carrying a golden mask on the end of its tail. And there's one card in particular, the Yamask from Surging Sparks, illustrated by Akira Saki, where the whole thing just clicks. The artwork shows the ghost lifting its mask with a look of pure sorrow. And you might be wondering why the long face. Well, the Pokédex says that the gold mask used to be its face, when it was a person. Yamask is the ghost of a human being. It died, it came back as a Pokemon, and it's still carrying around the face it had when it was alive. The entries also say that sometimes it looks at the mask and it weeps, because it remembers being alive and it knows it will never be again. That Surging Sparks card isn't a spooky little illustration, it's the exact Pokédex line drawn. A dead person holding their own face, mourning who they used to be. It's a pretty messed up thing that TCG printed, and it's sitting in commons that people dump straight into bulk boxes. Next time you see a Yamask card, remember it's still human enough to want to be remembered. Now for our next card, meet Phantump, a tiny ghost peeking out of a little tree stump. Wide eyes, big head, and kinda cute on a card. Until we read the Pokédex entry. The Pokédex says Phantump is the spirit of a child who wandered into the forest and died there. The Pokédex entry says these stumps are possessed by the souls of kids who got lost in the woods and never came out. And it doesn't stop there. Phantump cries out in a child's voice. Some entries describe it imitating the sound of a child to lure lost travelers deep into the forest, either to make a friend or to make sure they end up exactly like them. Now, let's take a look at what Phantump evolves into. Trevenant, the giant, gnarled tree that stands over the forest. Trevenant's Pokédex entry is a warning. It controls every tree in the woods through its roots, and if you harm the forest, it traps you so you can never leave. And a deadly curse falls on anyone who cuts down its trees. So put the two cards side by side and read them as one picture. A forest full of the ghosts of lost children guarded by something that makes sure anyone who hurts that forest becomes lost forever too. Every Phantom card is a missing kid. Every Trevenant card is the thing standing watching over them. That's a haunted forest built out of 2 cards. Bayonet looks like a broken zipper mouth doll because that's exactly what it is. The Pokédex says Bayonet was an ordinary stuffed toy, a plush that a child loved and then threw away. And the resentment of being abandoned was so strong that the discarded doll came to life as a Pokémon. But there's something you're missing in the card art. Bayonet isn't just sad, it's looking for someone. The entries say Bayonet wanders through garbage dumps and back alleys searching for the specific child who threw it away so it can take its revenge. One entry describes a cursed doll with a pin driven through its own body, storing up energy for the day it finds them. So, when you see Bayonet on a card standing there with those hollow eyes and that zippered mouth, it's not posing, it's searching. It has a face in its memory, and it's yours if you were the kid who tossed it in the bin. So remember kids to recycle your toys responsibly or else you're going to be in trouble. But the next one isn't a toy, and it isn't a child, it's a woman. Pretty scary, huh? Frostlass is one of the amazing designs in Pokemon. An elegant, kimono-shaped ice ghost. It shows up on gorgeous cards, all cold blues and whites, and its Pokédex entry is a full ghost story. Frostlass is the spirit of a woman who got lost on a snowy mountain and froze to death. Her soul possessed the ice and she came back as this. But people fear Frostlass not because she's a beautiful ice woman, it's what the entry says she does. When Frostlass finds a human or a Pokemon it likes, it freezes them solid with breath nearly 60 degrees below zero and then carries them back to her den where they become decorations. Frozen trophies lined up in the cold. One entry even says the food it enjoys most is the souls of men. So that beautiful card in your binder, flawless. But it's also a woman who died alone in the snow and now collects anything with a pulse that crosses her path. The prettiest cards can sometimes hide the darkest entries. You just have to read them. Now, as I promised you, a card with a number. This is Spirit Tomb, a swirl of purple bound to a cracked green stone called the Odd Keystone. But take a close look at Spirit Tomb. Those are dozens of little faces crammed into that dark cloud, each one twisted into its own expression. People glance at it, think it's creepy, and move on with their life. But the faces are the whole point. The Pokédex says Spirit Tomb was formed from 108 spirits, 108 souls punished for their misdeeds, bound together into a single keystone by a mysterious spell so they can never escape. Now, 108 might sound like a random number, but it's not. Spirit Tomb is number 108 in the Sinnoh Pokédex. It weighs exactly 108 kilograms, its special defense stat is 108, and it was made from 108 spirits. Clearly, this is not a coincidence. Spirit Tomb is 108 trapped souls that were never cleansed. The designers didn't just write that in the Pokédex and hope you read it. They stamped 108 onto its number, its weight, and its stats. Pokemon has been showing you the answer from every possible angle this whole time. Now, would you kindly look at the Mega Dream EX Spirit Tomb? Tell me if you noticed something important on that card. I'll give you a hint, it's different in the English set. So the cards in your binder aren't decorations. They never were. Every one of them is a page from the Pokédex, and the artist spent 30 years quietly bringing their Pokédex entries to life, trusting that someday somebody would slow down and actually read them. A little Pokemon crying under its mother's skull, a balloon that steals children, a ghost holding its own human face, a forest of lost kids, a doll hunting the child who abandoned it, a frozen woman collecting trophies, and 108 souls that were never set free. So next time you think your common card is just junk, remember, they carry these stories with them. You just never gave them a chance. To end the video, here's some homework. Go through your binder tonight, find one card that's telling a story you never noticed, and drop in the comments. I want to learn a lot more. And if you want to see what happens when an entire region hides its story in the card art, watch my video on the Holland region next. It's the same idea blown up to the size of a whole world Pokemon built and then erased. And remember, the Pokédex is a book of stories, and you've been holding its illustrations this entire time. See you in the next one.